New DNA testing in West Memphis 3 case may exonerate convicted, fined real killer. In 2025, 30 years ago, Arkansas witnessed one of the most horrific crimes in its history, the brutal murder of 3 8-year-old boys in West Memphis. 3 teenagers, famously dubbed the West Memphis 3, were convicted for the murders. Over the years, many have become convinced of their innocence due to a lack of evidence and revelations about the alleged mishandling of the case by police and the court system. But if that's the case, who killed the little boys? On May 5, 1993, the naked, hog-tied bodies of 8-year-old Stevie Branch, Christopher Byers, and Michael Moore were found submerged in a drainage ditch in a patch of woods in West Memphis. Police suggested they had been raped and one boy, castrated. Police said one had been beaten to death, and 2 drowned. The shocking crime led many to believe that it may have been the work of a satanic cult. Caption: 30 years ago, Arkansas witnessed one of the most horrific crimes in its history, the brutal murder of 3 8-year-old boys in West Memphis. Video. KATV. The satanic panic that gripped the community was palpable, said Dan Stidham, former attorney for Jesse Miskelly and currently a district judge for the 17th Judicial District of Arkansas. West Memphis police needed to find a culprit, fast. But critics say they made critical mistakes in their investigation, mishandling or failing to collect evidence and failing to pursue leads. They soon arrested 3 teenagers, Jesse Miskelly, Damian Eccles, and Jason Baldwin, charging them with murder with little to go on but Miskelly's confession. They accused the boys of belonging to a satanic cult. Dan Stidham, then a young part-time public defender with no jury trial experience, was asked to represent Miskelly. Stidham, like many others, believes West Memphis police coerced a false confession out of Miskelly, who was later said in court proceedings to have the IQ of a 7-year-old child. Police interviewed Miskelly for hours, but recorded less than an hour. His confession contained glaring inaccuracies. There were a lot of shenanigans that were going on, prosecutorial misconduct, and finally I threatened to hold a press conference if they didn't leave my client alone, Stidham told KTV. There was one point where the lead prosecutor was meeting with my client behind my back. I didn't even know he was meeting with him, which is a clear violation, he said. According to Stidham, Judge David Burnett, who presided over the West Memphis 3 trials, took an inappropriately aggressive approach to the case and actually aided the prosecution. He manipulated the juries throughout the trials, he told KTV. Despite a lack of physical evidence and dubious testimony from individuals who later recanted their statements, the 3 teenagers were convicted. Eccles was sentenced to death and Baldwin and Miskelly to life in prison. Years of appeals, legal maneuverings, and new DNA testing would follow. In 2007, a retrial seemed imminent. But instead of going to trial and risking defeat, the state of Arkansas offered the West Memphis 3 a deal to let them go free, an Alford plea, in which they pled guilty but maintained their innocence. And everybody thought we were going to get a new trial. Even the prosecutors admitted it, Stidham said, and then all of a sudden, this Alford plea comes out of nowhere. The West Memphis 3 took the deal in 2011 and was set free, but to this day, the shadow of their convictions has hung heavy over their lives. Even some of the murdered boys' parents became convinced the West Memphis 3 were innocent. They're innocent. They did not kill my son. And this is wrong, what the state of Arkansas is doing to cover their ass, said John Mark Byers, father of murder victim Christopher Byers, in a 2011 interview with KTV. I want true justice, and now we'll never know. I thought there was going to be a trial, and them crackerjack police officers and attorneys, the investigators that was on this case in 1993, they messed up. And now the state of Arkansas, it's like they want to sweep it under the rug, and it's over. It's over for everyone else, but it continues to live on for me. Every day, said Pam Hicks, mother of murder victim Stevie Branch, in a 2011 interview with KTV. But if Eccles, Baldwin, and Miskelly didn't kill the 3 little boys in West Memphis all those years ago, that means the real killer is still out there. Byers and Hicks both came to believe that police failed to adequately investigate someone they both knew. Stidham said DNA testing in 2007 turned up no match for the West Memphis 3 at the crime scene, but it did turn up a partial match for one of the murdered boy's stepfathers and Pam's ex-husband, Terry Hobbs, as well as a partial match for his friend David Jacoby. A hair that could be Hobbs was found in the ligature binding one of the little boys. Mr. Hobbs, the other stepfather, we can't account for where he was every hour and every minute, Stidham said. North Little Rock attorney Patrick Benker, part of Damien Eccles' legal team, says that despite the evidence pointing to Hobbs coming to light in 2007, authorities made little to no effort investigating him. The interview they did of Mr. Hobbs subsequent to that finding that his hair was at the scene. The interview was comical, Benker said. I mean, they literally asked him 2 or 3 questions and said good day. Stidham says he and the West Memphis 3's current attorneys have a theory as to what could have happened. We're going to have a smoking gun. We're going to have more than just the DNA. We're going to have corroboration. And there were 2 witnesses that saw Terry Hobbs with the boys that night yelling at them to come home. And they ran through these ladies' yard, and they heard him yelling at the boys and interacting with them, which he denies, he said. Stidham has another theory as to who may have murdered the little boys, whose bodies were found a stone's throw from an Interstate 40 truck stop. DNA belonging to other, unknown individuals was found at the crime scene. DNA that can now be tested with new, state-of-the-art technology. If we get enough genetic markers from the DNA testing, then we can compare it to my suspect, who is a long-haul truck driver, Stidham revealed. Stidham says his suspect is currently in prison for other slayings. He didn't divulge the man's name. The FBI says it has a pool of hundreds of suspects, all long-haul truckers, for nearly 1,000 suspected serial killings along America's highways. The 2 theories we've mentioned, and a myriad of others have been offered over the years, but now, finally, we may soon have answers.